Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth describes the current state of the Navy as one of unwavering readiness. In official briefings, the Pentagon asserts that every ship and every captain has exactly what they need at every single moment. The struggles of life at sea are romanticized as a testament to sailor resilience in austere conditions. But the documented conditions aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln tell a different story. During its 2025 deployment, the carrier remained at sea for over 250 days, setting a modern record by operating for more than 200 consecutive days without a single port call. Inside the ship, basic institutional support failed. Reports from sailors and congressional inquiries revealed that meals were rationed to half a cup of rice and 2 tortillas. The crew dealt with broken plumbing, moldy showers, and contaminated drinking water, while basic hygiene products like soap and toothpaste were entirely depleted. This environment created a severe, hidden psychological crisis. As the military mail system failed and care packages were lost, family members documented accounts of sailors threatening to jump overboard to escape the physical and mental strain of the extended deployment. When a military branch normalizes the rationing of food and the contamination of water to maintain an inflated global presence, it crosses the threshold into institutional negligence. The rules and standards that govern civil society appear not to apply to a population that can be unilaterally controlled by a command hierarchy. This naval crisis is the result of strategic overreach. The United States is currently attempting to project power across the Western Pacific, the Red Sea, and the Mediterranean, using a fleet that is physically shrinking. This data shows the widening deficit between strategic ambition and capacity. The Navy's fleet has dropped to 257 warships, with a shortage of over 30,000 personnel. Yet the fleet continues to operate 15% above the historic tempos of the Cold War. The pressure stems from a broken industrial base. Chronic shipbuilding delays for critical platforms like the Columbia-class submarines force the Navy to keep aging legacy vessels in rotation far beyond their intended lifespans. Maintenance failures and extreme crew exhaustion have historically led to fatal consequences. The 2017 collisions involving the USS John S. McCain and the USS Fitzgerald, resulting in the loss of multiple lives, were directly linked to profound fatigue and compromised readiness. Rather than recalibrating goals to match reality, leadership continues to demand that exhausted personnel bridge the gap between political ambition and material capacity. Domestic military infrastructure is currently facing a $137 billion maintenance backlog. This is a financial reality that the Department of Defense has deliberately deferred for decades to prioritize weapon systems and operational facilities. A 2023 investigation by the Government Accountability Office documented the conditions created by this backlog. Inspectors found junior enlisted personnel living with raw sewage overflows, methane gas leaks, and pervasive mold. Rooms reached over 90 degrees due to broken climate control, while others were infested with rodents. Command hierarchies often shift the burden of repairs onto the troops themselves. Programs at Camp Pendleton encourage service members to patch holes and remediate mold using issued tools, leveraging the captive labor of junior personnel to offset the consequences of departmental financial mismanagement. This disregard for biological safety extends to military families. At Joint Base Pearl Harbor-Hickam, thousands were exposed to jet fuel that leaked into the base's drinking water distribution system because of failing infrastructure dating back to World War II. Because service members are bound by the Uniform Code of Military Justice and cannot legally strike or break their housing contracts, the Department of Defense is able to operate with a level of negligence that would be illegal for any civilian landlord. In an environment defined by overwork, poor living standards, and institutional neglect, severe emotional distress is a measurable outcome. However, official statistics frequently undercount the true magnitude of the crisis. Research suggests that the actual suicide rate among former service members is 2.4 times higher than reported. This discrepancy exists because drug overdoses and single driver accidents are often classified as accidents, rather than deaths of despair driven by moral injury sustained during service. When veterans attempt to access care through the Department of Veterans Affairs, they face an adversarial system. The passage of the PACT Act created a massive influx of complex medical claims for toxic exposures, putting immense pressure on a system already struggling with a record backlog. To manage the volume, the VA uses artificial intelligence to adjudicate claims, reporting record processing speeds. But advocacy groups report error rates exceeding 40%. This AI reliance causes arbitrary lower ratings and systemic denials, forcing veterans into multi-year appeals. The government extracts a soldier's health during active duty, only to utilize automated bureaucracies to deny them health care and compensation upon their exit. The Department of Defense holds absolute legal and operational control over its personnel. In its current state, military service has been reduced to a one-way extraction of health and psychological sanity, functioning as a structural feature of an institution that treats its human capital as a disposable asset. Meaningful reform requires a total rejection of institutional gaslighting. Lawmakers must conduct unannounced congressional inspections of deployed vessels and domestic barracks to bypass the sanitized reporting provided by defense leadership. There must be absolute command accountability. The administrative barriers that protect toxic leaders from termination must be removed. Any commander who presides over uninhabitable housing or an unnecessarily grueling operational tempo that spikes suicidal ideation must face immediate relief for cause. Legislative changes are required to outlaw the use of junior enlisted labor for infrastructure remediation and to end the VA's reliance on automated claim denials. True efficiency is measured by the accurate delivery of care, not the speed of bureaucratic attrition. The civil-military divide can only be bridged by unvarnished truth. Supporting the military community requires acknowledging the empirical reality of their service and unconditionally applying the laws of occupational safety and human dignity to those who serve.